that that was the Timberwolves game. Now, initially, the way this started out didn't really seem like it'd be anything more than another close game with a bad team because that's typical Wizards basketball at times. Bad teams have just as much of a chance of beating the Wizards as good teams. But really, what was spurring that line of thought too was the fact that the Timberwolves were sort of eating the Wizards alive in the paint, and it seemed like no one had grabbed a board, and there were kind of these silly turnovers, but neither team could shoot at all. And then the second half happened because Bertans was missing shots and Beal wasn't really hitting any as far as like 3-pointers go. I think both teams were shooting around like 21% or 13%. It was crazy. I was just like, this is what's happening. It's a very ugly game, not one that was something to watch for the aesthetic pleasure of it. And the big difference for the Timberwolves too in this game is that they had Karl-Anthony Towns and they were without D'Angelo Russell. Timberwolves have run into a lot of bad injury luck, and of course with the new coach now installing his system and his offense is also going to be something that they're going to be figuring out moving forward. But like I said before, the Wizards have to play who's in front of them, and oh my god, did it come down to defense. This team, it started off with a Beal steal, which is steal by Beal. It just sounds nice. Sounds a little funny, but it sounds nice. Beal's defensive acumen came alive in this game, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't plan on losing this game today. I am not. We're gonna bring it alive." And we got our sixth Russell Westbrook dunk of the season, which was great. It was like, oh hey, I haven't seen you in a while. And it's always fun to get a Russ dunk during that. And I think this is the first time I felt that energy. I'm like, okay, so this is what OKC fans felt when he would like be going off like all the time and just yamming it down people's souls for no good reason other than to just he has a vendetta against the rim, and it's gorgeous to see when it's just like having that feeling along with the Beal steal that helped get it going. Because once Beal got that steal, because initially it was sort of a back and forth game, but then Beal gets a steal off of this Karl-Anthony Towns pass, and it was just off to the races. Like Beal's 17-point third quarter is obviously going to be the story because he's the star, and my God, dude just literally just stopped. He just opened his like fifth eye or whatever and was just throwing it up, and it would go in, hitting reverse layups, just unlocking a plethora of different options to score with for him. He can do it all. As a scorer, he's magnificent, and I'm glad he's on our team, and I'm glad that Wizards front office did not just simply cave to public pressure to get rid of him, to be like, oh, well, we should just rebuild, because I think that there is certainly an existing possibility that he can win here. Now, obviously, I'm a bit hyped because this game was fun, because not only did Beal come alive in the second half, Garrison Matthews and Bertans were just sniping everything after the ball was moving in crazy ways like I've never seen. I think at one point Beal threw it to Neto too hard. Neto saved it to Matthews, and Matthews just splashed it. Bertans was getting spot-up shots, and I don't think we've seen him ever get like wide-open spot-up shots, which just goes to show you that you thought the Wizards' defense was bad, but the Timberwolves' defense is kind of yikes. The Timberwolves as a whole are a struggling young team. So defensively, they're not going to be on the string as a veteran-laden team like the Raptors or the Heat are going to be. So I'm not really surprised with that. This sort of mirrored the last Timberwolves game, now that I think about it, because in that game, though we were playing Russell and they didn't have Cat, they still got, it started with a Beal and one, I think, and just off to the races. And they just never looked back, which is fun to see. It's fun to see the Wizards go, hey, this is a bad team. We need to get it together and finish them off. It does scare me sometimes when the Wizards can't secure a board to save their lives, but that's just at this point I've accepted that we can have 30,000 big men, but we just all have butterfingers. A cool thing that I've been seeing too, as far as development wise, Rui Hachimura, they're starting to go to him in the post and try to find him early, because I think they ran 2 plays for him immediately, and he was scoring early and often, so that was nice. At first, like, the team couldn't really score that well at first. Like, it was just a tie back and forth affair. And then, like I said, that third quarter, just good night. Good night. Like, I think Mo got a charge on Cat, so that made Cat mad. Pretty sure him and Cat have had a little bit of beef over that before. I think it was like one game last year, like Mo just kept getting charges. And though Cat was eating his lunch that whole game, it was just funny to see. Now, the thing about it is, I feel like it's not out of hand to say that the Wizards have improved. And it's not necessarily insane to suggest that they could keep this going. I feel like I'm going to feel more comfortable when they get to 500. Obviously, they're only a couple games away from like the 4th seed right now. So, you know, the hype is contained for me. I'm trying not to unlock the 2014-15 levels where I was just like on cloud 9 with this team. And the difference with that team and this team is that they're starting to show that resiliency is something that can stick and not just be a temporary thing. And I think, as people have noted before prior to me, I think it does help that this team has had time to sort of gel more after COVID and injuries. But speaking of injuries, unfortunately, Neto might be injured, and he's been a key piece of this defensive side that the Wizards have started to show, where they're getting stops and running out on the break and just ramming it down teams' throats with no regard for anyone's safety except for their own. But yeah, Neto had a collision with a Timberwolves player who I cannot remember off the top of my head, and they banged knees, and he got up. He was able to leave on his own power. He went to the locker room, and he said it was probably a left knee contusion. So that part is unfortunate, and I hope that he'll be okay, because the Wizards' point guard depth is kind of really, really barren right now. The only maybe silver lining is that if Neto has to rest, I think with Russ, is it safe to say he's not doing is he doing back-to-backs now? I mean, it would have to be a thing now if Neto's out. And on top, but then, like I said, potential silver lining, maybe Denny gets some consistent minutes, maybe Troy gets some consistent minutes, Isak, Bonga maybe, because these guys are playmaking wings, and I think that they have unfortunately been put in a situation where this team is valuing winning, and the current lineups that are being put out there, the current rotations, are contributing to winning, and they need more of a developmental side. I think Troy's been made into like 30 different versions of a wing, but never been able to solidify anything, and when you don't get consistent minutes, that doesn't help. So if Neto does unfortunately have to go out, maybe you run one of the DNP All-Stars and see if they can do anything between Bonga and Troy Brown Jr. Denny is getting minutes, so he's not a DNP All-Star, but his minutes have been kind of fluctuating a little bit. I think he's still just figuring things out. There's some fouls he gets called for, and I'm like, that's not true. I think that's false. I disagree. But overall, considering the state of the Wizards from where they were a couple weeks ago to now, this is a markedly better improvement. And I'm wondering if, granted, like the season was under normal circumstances, would they have started as badly? Not sure. But currently is great. Right now, since Valentine's Day, it was noted on the broadcast, the Wizards are now, I want to say 7-1. Between them and the Nets, they both had the great start, but we got to do better than the Nets. I have no idea if the Nets are winning their game right now, but if the Nets lose, that means we beat the Nets at keeping a sort of winning record. They only won 6 games in 7 nights. We won more. But yeah, I'll be a little less tentative if the Wizards can go over 500, but for now, I'm just happy and enjoying this dub that at first seemed like it was going to be one of those nights where it was going to get close. And to the TWolves' credit, they kept fighting till the very end. Literally. Like, they started hitting threes. Anthony Edwards, is a random note, Anthony Edwards can float. it's scary. I was afraid when he went up and basically got a layup dunk thing over Robin. I was just like, oh my, how, dude? Like I've heard it being talked about basketball players being able to float like some really good dunkers. He looks like a goddamn Jedi. It's crazy. But yeah, no, we'll see. We are playing the Celtics, who have also been doing poorly and will probably attempt to play well against us and come back. They've had a struggling Kemba, a struggling Tatum who's dealt with COVID issues. Kimba's got his own injury issues. Jaylen Brown's like their all-star right now. But beyond that, the team seems to have struggled to really garner anything consistent. So we'll see if they're able to bring it against the Wizards, and if the Wizards can respond in kind, they can send the Celtics down a spiral, which I think if anyone has any bad blood from 2017 left, then haha, we did it. We made the Celtics lose. But if not, then haha, the Wizards just get another win. Either way, I think it's fair to want the Wizards to win. So yeah, good win against the Timberwolves. They controlled it throughout after the third quarter, because Jesus Christ. And yeah, well, this guy says Wizards have both dog treats and cat treats to spare. I don't know if they can fight against Celtics or if they're allergic to Lucky Charms or any of that. I probably already made that joke. It's fine. But there's not many cool Wizards I know that wear green, so yeah. WizWatch!